My sister-in-law humiliated me for years. You're nothing without my brother, she laughed, forgetting I knew all her secrets. So I stayed silent. Until the truth came out. Does Michael even get to breathe, or is he just your personal servant now? Jessica's voice dripped with fake concern as she smirked across the table. I barely picked up my fork before she went in for the kill. Excuse me? I kept my tone steady, but my stomach twisted. Jessica gave an exaggerated shrug, swirling the wine in her glass. I mean, we never see him anymore. Or is that not allowed? Laughter rippled through the room. Not awkward, uncomfortable laughter. Actual amusement. Michael stiffened beside me, but before he could speak, his mother chuckled. Oh, Jessica, don't start. Like always, she got a free pass. Like always, I was expected to just take it. I forced a polite smile, even as my stomach clenched. This was how it always went. Jessica threw the punches, and everyone else pretended they didn't land. I could feel Michael tense beside me, his hand twitching slightly as if debating whether to reach for mine or not. He hated this as much as I did, but he also knew that no matter what he said, his parents would brush it off. Jessica wasn't finished. She stabbed her fork into her salad, her voice sickly sweet. No, really. Michael barely visits us anymore. I mean, what kind of wife keeps a husband away from his own family? A wave of heat crept up my neck. I could already see where this was going. She wasn't just making a joke, she was planting a seed. A whisper of doubt in his parents' minds. Michael exhaled sharply, setting his fork down. Jessica, stop. But Jessica only shrugged, swirling the wine in her glass again, looking smug. What? I'm just asking a question. I could feel the weight of everyone's stares, the silent expectation that I would laugh it off, like I always did. For a brief second, my mind flashed back to another dinner, another conversation I hadn't been prepared for. I just mentioned you were between jobs, that's all, Jessica had said lightly, her voice coated. Between jobs? Michael's mother had frowned. Lauren, you never mentioned that. Everything okay? Of course. I had forced a smile, ignoring the way my stomach twisted. Jessica had just outed me, again. I hesitated now, my mind racing. If I defended myself, I'd be called too sensitive. If I ignored her, I'd let her win. No matter what I did, Jessica had already set the stage to make me the villain. I forced a neutral tone. Michael and I make decisions together. If he doesn't visit as much, it's because we're both busy, not because I control him. Jessica scoffed, eyes glinting. Right. That's what controlling wives say. The laughter came again, quieter this time, but no less humiliating. I swallowed down the sharp retort sitting on my tongue. What was the point? She'd been doing this for years, making snide comments, twisting the truth just enough to make me look bad. But this time, something inside me was shifting. I stiffened beside Michael, comments about my career, implying I tricked Michael into marrying me, and her favorite, acting like I was a gold digger despite the fact that I earned more than Michael. I had convinced myself that as long as I ignored it, she would grow bored. That eventually, she'd move on. But tonight, something felt different. There was a sharpness in her words, a quiet confidence that made my stomach churn. I thought Jessica just wanted to embarrass me. But the way she looked at me, that glint of satisfaction in her eyes, I realized too late. She was just getting started. I wish I could say Jessica's cruelty was new. But the truth is, it had been there since the day I married Michael. She never liked me. Not because of anything I did, just because I existed. From the start, she made it clear that she saw me as an outsider. The woman who stole her brother. At first, I thought it was normal sibling protectiveness, something that would fade over time. I made every effort to be kind to her, to include her in our lives. I invited her out for coffee, complimented her when she got a promotion, even defended her when Michael got frustrated with her selfishness. But nothing was ever enough. Jessica didn't just dislike me, she resented me. Maybe that was the real reason. Not just because I married Michael, but because I was everything she wasn't, independent, ambitious, unwilling to let her manipulate me like everyone else did. She had a habit of making backhanded comments, always just subtle enough to be played off as jokes. If I cooked dinner, she'd wrinkle her nose and say, "Oh, Michael must miss Mom's cooking." If I dressed up for a family event, she'd smirk and murmur, "Trying a little too hard, aren't you?" Michael defended me when he could, but it never made a difference. His parents adored Jessica. She was their golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Every time she made a cruel remark, they brushed it off with, "Oh, that's just Jessica. She doesn't mean anything by it." But she did. For a long time, Jessica's games were just an annoyance, death by 1,000 cuts. But things took a turn when she wormed her way into my professional life. I work in corporate finance, a demanding but fulfilling job I had built from the ground up. I took pride in my work, in my reputation. My performance was strong enough that I was being considered for a major promotion, one that would significantly increase my salary and put me in a leadership role. Then Jessica got a job at my company. She didn't earn it. She got in through connections, one of Michael's family friends, who pulled strings to land her a position. I knew it was going to be a problem the moment I heard. But I told myself to keep my head down, to stay professional. That didn't last long. From the moment Jessica started, she acted like she owned the place. She dropped our family connection to everyone who would listen, making sure they knew we were sisters-in-law. At first, it was just little things, expecting me to show her how to do everything, even though we weren't on the same team. But it escalated. She started taking credit for my work, casually slipping into meetings to add input on projects she had nothing to do with. She hinted to our colleagues that I was slacking off, subtly undermining me in ways that were hard to prove but impossible to ignore. Then came the real blow. I was in the final stages of my promotion process. It was between me and one other candidate. And then, out of nowhere, a major error surfaced in one of my reports, an error I hadn't made. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I stared at the report, my breath catching in my throat. The numbers didn't add up. I double-checked my original files, scrolled through emails, nothing. The error wasn't mine. A slow, sinking realization crept over me. Jessica. My pulse pounded in my ears. I could already picture her smug face, the way she'd shrug and pretend it was an accident. I wanted to run to my boss, to demand that they check the access logs, but I knew Jessica was too careful. She had covered her tracks just enough that there was no direct evidence. When I confronted her about it privately, she just smiled and said, "Wow, that's unfortunate. Hope it doesn't cost you that promotion." I wanted to scream, but I knew that if I lashed out, it would only play into her hands. And it worked. The company decided to go with the other candidate. I lost my promotion. Jessica walked away without a scratch. That should have been enough. That should have been where she stopped. But Jessica didn't just want to ruin my career. She wanted to ruin my marriage too. A week after I lost the promotion, I noticed something was off with Michael's parents. They were colder toward me, their usual polite smiles tinged with disapproval. At first, I brushed it off. Then, I overheard Jessica on the phone in the next room. "I just don't think she's good for Michael," she whispered, voice thick with false concern. "She's so controlling. And I mean, she barely even contributes financially." My blood ran cold. I wanted to storm into the room and demand she say it to my face. Instead, I turned to Michael that night, my voice shaking as I told him what I had heard. He hesitated before speaking, rubbing the back of his neck. "They've been asking me weird questions lately. About our finances. About whether I feel isolated." He sighed, eyes flicking toward the floor. I crossed my arms. "And what did you tell them?" My voice was tight. "That it's not true," he said quickly. But something in his tone, some small flicker of hesitation, made my stomach twist. Michael was on my side. I knew he was. But Jessica had done what she always did, planted a seed of doubt. I exhaled sharply. "She's trying to turn them against me." Michael ran a hand down his face. "I'll talk to them." He did. And they swore they didn't believe Jessica. That it was just family talk. But I could see it in their eyes. The seed had been planted. Then came the breaking point. A mutual friend reached out to me with a warning. Jessica had been gossiping about me to extended family. She told them I was mooching off Michael, painting a picture of me as some lazy, manipulative wife who spent his money while he worked himself to the bone. She even went as far as to accuse me of financially exploiting him, despite the fact that I earned more than him and had never once taken a cent from him unfairly. It wasn't just family talk anymore. It was character assassination. That was when I knew. Jessica wasn't just trying to make my life difficult. She wanted to destroy it. I should have seen it coming. Jessica never stopped at small wins. She wanted to break me, to see me unravel piece by piece until there was nothing left. But this time, she went too far. I was on the verge of a promotion until my manager called me into his office. "There's been a serious error in your report." I frowned. "That's impossible." He turned his monitor toward me. The numbers were wrong. I stared at the screen, pulse pounding. The error wasn't in my files, only in the version submitted under my name. Jessica. I knew it instantly. She had accessed my files, altered the numbers, framed me. My stomach clenched, but my manager's next words stopped me cold. "We checked the system logs. Someone else used your credentials to make the edits." Relief surged through me, followed by pure fury. I had proof. Jessica had been careless. And now I was going to bury her. That night, I sat on the couch, fists clenched, as I told Michael everything. The false report, the system logs, the proof that Jessica had been behind it all. Michael listened, his jaw tight. "She's trying to ruin your career." I exhaled sharply. And she almost succeeded. He rubbed his temple. "She's gone too far." Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. His mother. "We need to talk." I didn't even need to ask what it was about. They weren't calling to confront Jessica. They were calling to confront me. When we arrived, Jessica was already seated, her expression practiced and calm. Michael's mother clasped her hands together. "We need to address this tension in the family." I crossed my arms. "You mean Jessica's lies?" Jessica gasped, feigning hurt. "I don't want to cause drama, but I just feel like..." "No," my voice cut through hers. "Enough. No more acting like you're innocent." Her face twisted. "You're paranoid." I pulled out my phone and turned the screen toward them. "This is the IT report from my company. It proves someone accessed my files under my login. Guess whose credentials were used?" Silence. Michael's mother shook her head. "That doesn't sound like Jessica." Jessica had the audacity to laugh. "You're seriously accusing me of hacking? That's ridiculous." Michael's voice was ice. "Don't lie." Jessica's face flickered with real fear for the first time. "You've been trying to destroy my marriage for years," Michael continued, his voice low and sharp. "But this? You tried to ruin her career." Jessica's expression hardened. "You're choosing her over me?" Michael didn't hesitate. "Yes." And that was it. The moment everything changed. Jessica looked around, waiting for someone, anyone, to defend her. No one did. Michael's father looked away. His mother sat in stunned silence. Jessica's hands clenched into fists. "You're turning them against me." Michael didn't blink. "No, Jessica. You did that yourself." She shot to her feet, rage twisting her face. "You'll regret this." Then she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence she left behind was deafening. Michael exhaled and turned to his parents. "Believe whatever you want. But if you defend her after this, we're done." His mother's lips parted, but she didn't argue. For the first time, I saw doubt in her eyes. Maybe she wasn't ready to admit the truth, but she couldn't ignore it anymore. That night, as Michael and I drove home in silence, I realized something. Jessica had finally lost. Her influence was fading. And I had no doubt she wasn't going to take it well. This wasn't over. Not yet. Update: Jessica was gone. For the first time in years, I didn't have to watch my words at family gatherings, brace myself for snide remarks, or feel the slow, burning humiliation of her jabs disguised as jokes. But I knew better than to think this was truly over. Because Jessica never lost quietly. The first sign of her next move came 2 days later. Michael's parents had gone silent since the confrontation. No phone calls. No texts. Then, out of nowhere, his mother called. Her voice was tight, clipped. Michael, you need to fix this. Jessica is struggling. Michael stiffened. Struggling with what? With everything. She's devastated that you turned against her. A pause. She's your sister, Michael. You can't just abandon her. I closed my eyes, already knowing where this was going. Michael exhaled. Mom. She didn't make a mistake. She deliberately tried to sabotage my wife's career. His mother ignored that. She's having a hard time finding work. I clenched my jaw. Of course she was. After Jessica's failed sabotage attempt, the news had spread. Coworkers who had once tolerated her nonsense weren't staying quiet anymore. HR was investigating her for misconduct, and whispers about what she had done were making their way through professional circles. Jessica wasn't just losing her grip on our family. She was losing her reputation. And now, Michael's parents wanted us to fix it. That evening, we were barely through the front door when Michael's phone buzzed again. Jessica. Michael let it ring. Then another call. And another. Finally, a text. At least hear me out. Against my better judgment, Michael called her back. What do you want, Jessica? There was no venom in his voice. Just exhaustion. Jessica sniffled on the other end. I know I messed up, okay? But I'm in a bad place. I lost my job, and I have bills piling up. Michael's expression didn't change. And a beat of silence. Then, I need money. There it was. The real reason for this call. Jessica wasn't sorry. She wasn't calling to make amends. She just wanted something from us. No. Michael's answer was immediate. Jessica's voice sharpened. Michael, please. I said no. Her tone changed instantly, the fake vulnerability snapping into pure rage. Oh, I see. She got to you, didn't she? She turned you against me. Michael's knuckles whitened around his phone. You did that all on your own. I thought she'd keep begging. Maybe try to guilt him again. But instead, she muttered something under her breath and hung up. And I knew this wasn't over. Update: the social media attack. It started slowly. A vague post on Jessica's Facebook. Betrayal hurts the most when it comes from family. Then another. Some people will do anything to make themselves look good while destroying others. And finally, her most calculated move yet. A fundraiser. Jessica created an online campaign, spinning a dramatic sob story about how she had been wrongfully terminated and unjustly blacklisted. She painted herself as the victim of an unnamed, toxic work environment and claimed she was on the brink of losing everything. And, of course, she made sure to heavily imply that I was behind it all. I trusted the wrong person, and now I'm paying the price. At first, she got some sympathy. A few small donations trickled in. Then people started calling her out. Former coworkers left brutal comments, exposing her lies. You didn't get fired because of office politics. You got fired because you were sabotaging your own colleagues. How about telling the truth for once, Jessica? One person even donated $1 just to write, "Try honesty next time." Her fundraiser flopped within a week. And for the first time, Jessica had to face real consequences. I thought that was the end of it. But Jessica had one last card to play. A week later, Michael's parents showed up at our doorstep. I opened the door, heart pounding. What are you doing here? His mother's expression was hard. We need to talk. Michael appeared behind me, his posture immediately tense. If this is about Jessica. His father cut him off. She's being evicted. I blinked. What? She lost her job. She can't afford rent. And we can't support her forever. My stomach twisted. I already knew what was coming next. His mother exhaled. We need you two to take her in. Michael went still beside me. I felt rage rising in my throat. Take her in? After everything? I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Absolutely not. Michael didn't even hesitate. She's not our responsibility. His mother's lips thinned. She's family. Michael's voice was ice. She stopped acting like family a long time ago. His father's jaw clenched. You're willing to let your sister be homeless? She made her bed. His mother's voice cracked. Michael, But Michael didn't waver. She has burned every bridge. Lied, manipulated, sabotaged. And now, she expects us to save her. He shook his head. Not this time. His mother's eyes filled with fury. Then you're no son of mine. Michael's breath hitched, but he didn't flinch. If choosing my wife over a toxic sister makes me a bad son, then fine. His voice hardened. Don't call me again. He shut the door. I stood frozen, heart hammering, waiting for him to break. Instead, Michael turned to me and exhaled slowly. We're finally free. And for the first time in years, I believed him. Last update. Jessica was gone. Michael's parents had made their choice. And for the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next attack. But freedom didn't come with fireworks or celebration. It came with silence. Michael's parents stopped calling. At first, it stung. Despite everything, a part of me had hoped they'd come around, that they'd see Jessica for who she truly was. But they didn't. Instead, they clung to their version of reality, where Jessica was the victim and we were the villains, where their son had abandoned them. Michael didn't talk about it much, but I knew it hurt him. One night, as we lay in bed, I felt him shift beside me. Do you think they'll ever reach out? His voice was quiet. I hesitated. Maybe, but only if they need something. He let out a soft, bitter laugh. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I turned toward him. Are you okay? He exhaled, staring at the ceiling. Honestly? Yeah, I think I am. And for the first time, I believed him. Because Michael wasn't their puppet anymore. What happened to Jessica? At first, she tried to keep up appearances. She posted filtered, curated photos on social media, coffee shop selfies, fake smiles, captions about self-growth. But it didn't take long for the cracks to show. Her fundraiser flopped. Her job applications went nowhere. And when people stopped feeding her drama, she had nothing left. Then, one day, her accounts went silent. She vanished. Mutual friends told us she had moved back in with Michael's parents. They weren't thrilled, but they had no choice. She burned every bridge. And now? She was their problem, not ours. For the first time in years, I felt light. No more battles. No more whispered gossip. No more war with a woman who had spent her life making mine miserable. One evening, as I sat on our balcony, watching the sunset, Michael wrapped his arms around me from behind. You're smiling, he murmured. I leaned into him. Yeah, I think I finally feel free. His grip tightened. We both do. Because Jessica was gone. And we weren't looking back. Update, I really need your advice. A few nights ago, unable to shake the weight in my chest, I wrote a post on AIDA. I explained everything: the sabotage, the manipulation, the way Michael's parents had cut him off because we refused to take Jessica in. I expected mixed reactions. Instead, the responses were overwhelming. NTA. Jessica is an emotional black hole. You were right to get out. Your in-laws didn't lose a son. They lost control over him. You and Michael deserve peace. Don't let guilt pull you back into their toxicity. Hundreds of comments, all saying the same thing. I felt relief, but also doubt. Because Michael? He still looked haunted. He wasn't the same. Even though he chose me, I could see the pain of losing his family weighing on him. So, here I am, asking, did I do the right thing? Because I'm finally free. But my husband? He just looks broken. What do I do now?